Unfuck Your Business in 2025. It's a bit of a spicy title. I want to start the year with a really strong intention. And what I want to be teaching you here today is everything I've learned from working with 13 people, 13 startups in 2024 in order to grow their businesses, what worked, what didn't, what was a waste of time, what was highly effective. Most importantly, I'm going to be sharing with you the mindset shifts that you are going to have to make in 2025 in order to have a big year. So this is the plan. If I'm going to teach you how to grow your business faster in 2025 than you've ever done before, and look back in January 2026 and say, yes, I'm happy, I'm proud with the progress we make, there's 3 things I've got to teach you. Mindsets that you have to adopt in order to be an effective founder in 2025. I want to tell you, you are working on the wrong things and you're working too hard, which is a weird thing for me to say. If any of you know me, you know I hate the concept of work-life balance, but maybe I'm coming around to it a little bit more myself. And then I'm going to tell you some of the tactical uplifts that you can undertake in order to mimic some of the success that these founders had themselves in 2024. There's a few playbooks that we have been repeating time and time again that just don't stop working. And I'm already getting feedback from those founders who are executing them. Even 8 days into January, they're closing more customers using the exact same playbooks that worked in 2024. Who knew? You find something that works, you just do it again and again and again. Okay, so let's dive in. The 3 mindset shifts that you are going to need to have in 2025 in order to grow. And why mindset shifts? I'm a big believer that a business basically rises to the level of incompetence of its founding team or the senior leadership team. If you know how to run a 8-figure, 9-figure business, you have different behaviors, skill sets, insights, and the actions you take on the information you get within your business is different. The reason you don't have a business that does $1 million a year or 10 million a year or 100 million a year right now is because you don't know how to run a business like that. You don't embody the mindset and the actions of people who do run businesses like that. And so we can look at what is effective for other people. And if we're going to have you get different results in 2025 than you had in 2024, you're going to have to go through some painful change. We're going to have to look at what you're doing with a bit of a self-reflective lens and decide, right, I want a different reality next year. I'm going to commit to making these changes. So what are these changes? There's 3 that I have seen and identified again and again, which is, first and foremost, being busy is a form of laziness, okay? You might be thinking, I'm pulling 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I am grinding. I am chomping through every single task and solving every single emergency that is present in my business. And that is me doing my job as a founder, and I am doing the good work, fighting the good fight in doing so. It's not actually an effective way to work. And surprisingly for me, when I was looking at those founders last year, those who grew the most didn't necessarily do the most. They weren't working on 100 things at once. What they were doing is being very effective at applying their limited focus, okay? As a founder, you've got 24 hours in a day. 8 of those probably need to be dedicated to sleep. You need to eat. You probably have family, friends, hobbies, sports you play, all of this stuff. It lowers the amount of focus that you have as a founder in your business. You are a force majeure in your business. You are an incredible problem-solving machine. It's probably why you started a business in the first place. You're a high performer, you're a high achiever, and that focus is really, really valuable. And if we spread that focus too thin in your business, we don't achieve any results. So you work hard, you do the hard slog, you feel knackered at the end of the day, and it doesn't pay off. And that gets really frustrating. It's where that kind of sense of burnout comes from. And I want to give you permission this year to do less, but what you focus on, I want you to go deeper on as well. So like, what does that look like? Most of you are working in this frame of this mode of working that we have here on the left, this diffuse action. You are trying to launch an email marketing campaign. You're redoing your website. You are doing sales. You're doing admin. You're answering that email from your accountant about the receipt at 4 o'clock in the morning that you are missing from the bar bill, right? There's 1,000 things that you are running around and doing, and none of it is really being pushed to the extent that you need to push it in order to achieve that result. So this little dotted white line right here is the theoretical, like the breakthrough limit, that when you push an objective, when you push an initiative in your business past that line, you get the rewards of your hard work. Most of you are far too diffuse in what you are doing. I want you to transform your way of working into this focused action mode that you can kind of see here on the right, which is do much less, but what you do focus on, you apply all of that focus so you can actually have that breakthrough. I remember when I first moved from London up to Leeds, my friend who was becoming director of this recruitment company gave me a really compelling pitch for why I should quit my job in London and move north. He said, the entire building is on fire. This entire startup, everything about this is absolutely shocking. There is issues and problems everywhere. And Lee, when you get here, I need you to ignore 99% of those problems. And I just need you to work with me on finding the one meaningful problem that we need to solve that week, pulling that fire out, rinse and repeat. And it taught me one thing, which is most problems that you have in your business, the things you think are really important are not important. They are irrelevant problems that will either go away on their own or you solve them when you have a spare 20 minutes. Okay. So do less this year, more focused action rather than this diffuse action. And the way you're going to do this, the thing that we have seen that is incredibly effective is this idea of short bursts of intense activity, these traction sprints. A lot of you, if you're on the 90-day traction plan already, you'll know what this is. But it is, you have a hypothesis, you have an idea of what the most meaningful problem in your business is. And you are going to apply all of that limited focus that you have into solving it. You're going to come across the hurdles. You're going to diagnose the solutions to those barriers that you hit. You're going to course correct based on what you learn. And then you're going to break through. You get into that growth phase. And the really fun thing is you just rinse and repeat this, right? Growing a business is not rocket science. The thing I've seen from working with all of these businesses one-to-one is the same activities in each and every business are meaningful and grow the business, and they're ridiculously obvious. You all know in your gut what's going to grow your business. You all know in your gut which problems are meaningful to solve. The problem, which we'll get into a little bit later, is about why you're working on the wrong things, because you're entrepreneurs and you get really bored with solving these problems, right? So traction sprints, do less, more focused, burst through those problems and reach the other side so that you can actually get growth in your business. Do not try to solve 100 problems at once, especially if you're at the start of your journey as a founder where you don't have a team of 10 people under you. It's just you and maybe a handful of others. That focus is precious. Apply it to the things that are meaningful to solve in the business. The second mindset shift that I want to get you guys to have is get going, get good, get great. So most of you, as I've mentioned before, you're high achievers, right? You are the kind of people that if we were to employ in a business, you are competent, you're conscientious, you like to do a good job. You like to look good in front of other people, and you hate to be embarrassed by letting people down or doing a bad job. That's both good because it kind of got you the mindset that you needed in order to launch a business, but it is also a trap because most of you are stuck with aspirations, not taking action, okay? You make a decision that you want to do something in your business, and then you try to hyper optimize the solution to that before you launch version 1, because you are deathly afraid that if you launched it before it was ready, everyone would laugh at you. It would cause some kind of irreparable damage to your brand, your company. And so you delay. You go into this procrastination mode where you do research about, for example, right? You want to launch a YouTube channel this year. This would look like, instead of opening the camera up and just recording your first video and posting it and cringing about how bad it is, you delay because you say, well, I've got to do a course on video production first. I'm going to read about how we can optimize thumbnail design. I'm going to read the 10 best hooks to put onto your YouTube videos this year to get the most clicks. None of it matters at that point because you haven't launched anything. And one of the best entrepreneurs I know in terms of his growth of a startup, sold it for a 21 multiple for his exit, right, on a £1 million valuation business. He has this saying, which I think is beautiful. He says, version 1 is better than version none. James Ashford, who I think some of you in this room know personally, absolutely incredible founder. He's like, just launch it and then improve it. And this is the mindset of fast-moving founders. The founders I worked with last year who launched more things in their business, got more slaps in the face when they were wrong, made more mistakes, grew their business more, right? Instead of doing the research around how you do thumbnail design, they just launched a video. And then they realized that no one clicked on that video, so they did the better thumbnail in version 2. And then they realized in version 2, no one watched the video because the introduction was terrible. So in version 3, they improve the introduction as well, okay? So it's this idea of iteration and improvement. And I'm sure you've all heard the story of the ceramics class in the university who splits their class in half. And they say to one half of that class, you are going to make one pot this year. And whatever pot you make, it is going to be the thing we grade you on. So it better be the best pot you can possibly make. Plan, write, think, procrastinate, and at the end, submit your one pot. The other half of the class, they tell, you just have to make as many pots as you possibly can, and whatever pot you make that you think is the best, you can submit and we'll grade you on that. And in that case, those who made more pots, made more mistakes, they got the benefit of experience and all of the nuanced improvements that allows you to make, they got higher grades than those who tried to launch the perfect thing first and foremost. So launch stuff, put your embarrassment to one side, put your ego to one side, prepare and allow yourself to launch things in a rougher state than you are comfortable with, because once the market sees it, you'll get the benefit of experience of knowing exactly where everything is broken and what to focus on fixing next, okay? The mindset here is create masterpieces in your business. Most of you have unfinished work in your business. You have things that you kind of did, but it's not really finished in any way, shape or form. It's not a remarkable asset in your business. And I was thinking about this when I was in Florence, looking at the statue of David, right? This thing that he creates a couple of 100 years ago did an incredible thing for Michelangelo's brand, right? To this day, hundreds of people, thousands of people every week flock from all over the world to stand in a crowd and marvel at a statue that was wrought over many years out of a single block of marble. Like, it's an incredible thing. That is what we need you to create in your business. You need to create something. You need to focus your effort down on creating something that is remarkable, that attracts crowds, that pleases and delights people so they tell others about it, so that we can build your momentum, your traction across this year. Here on the right is actually one of Michelangelo's many unfinished works. This is his Slave series, right? These things are like historical, they're of historical interest because of the masterpieces that Michelangelo created with his other kind of works of art, right? Most of you are just producing these things here on the right, which is something that is kind of done. You maybe have done one version of, but you need to push through into version 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to iterate so that you can create something remarkable, create that masterpiece that allows you to grow your business, okay? So look at those half-finished things, those big ideas you had last year that you were really, really excited about, that you were buzzing about starting the team off on, that you never finished, that you never did. Blow the dust off some of them, one or two of them, and commit to pushing them through to something that actually meaningfully gets your business a result. Because if you just did that, you would have more growth this year, okay? The mindset I have here around this is something that Tim Ferriss taught me. Make before you manage. Most of you are running around like headless chickens, solving a never-ending pile of other people's problems in your businesses, okay? You open your emails up first thing in the morning, and there is the message from the client who has a life-threatening problem that if you don't deal with then and there, they will die. That never happens, by the way. There's nothing ever important in email. You are running around dealing with everyone else's problems, and instead of focusing your best energy in the day, when your brain is freshest, when you have the most motivation on making something remarkable in your business, creating a masterpiece, you take that effort, you take that work that you do, and you apply it to things that even if you solve right now, will just pop their head back up again in the future. That pile of problems is never ending. As you grow your business, the problem pile just gets bigger. You have more customers to deal with, more complaints, refunds, more financial issues, cash flow issues, more whatever, meetings to reject or attend, whatever it is, right? I want you to make before you manage. When you wake up in the morning, what are you going to do that day that moves your business forward? They say to you on flights, put your own gas mask on first. Why do they say it? So that you can not pass out and help anyone else who can't quite work out how to get the mask on their face. You can stick that on there and hopefully everyone has a happy ending there. Save yourself first. Stop prioritizing other people's problems over your own growth. And you will do more this year if you do so. And finally, I want you to stop being a commitment phobe. The clear differentiation between the high growth founders and the low growth founders that I worked with last year, those who didn't achieve what they wanted to, is the people who have gone all in on their business, they've given themselves no other option. They have to fight like their survival depends on it. Unsurprisingly, they do more and get more growth in their businesses. Those who have other options kind of play around the edges and they get diluted results, okay? I don't know if you've ever heard this, and I'm not sure if this is true, but there's a kind of idea that when the Vikings used to go raiding, they would say, right, we're burning the boats because there is no option other than to be successful in our raid. You better fight like your back's against the wall and get this done because you can't just hop on a ship and leave. It's either win or die, okay? Most of you have other options in your business, and these things look like opportunity. Oftentimes, they're the thing that's actually holding your business back, right? This is when you have multiple businesses you're trying to run at once, but the first business you started isn't at a position where you're more of a director and you've got a team of A players underneath you who are achieving the objectives with very little kind of micromanagement from you. It is having the part-time job and not going full time. It is very frustratingly for me last year, one founder who refused to quit their job to focus full time on their startup, even though they were making money hand over fist and they had a 12-month runway. They just couldn't get themselves to commit to that idea, and therefore they had less growth than they otherwise would. So I want you to have some tough conversations with people this year. And I'm talking to myself here as well. Last year, I had multiple startups that I was trying to run at once. What happened? Every time I started to be successful with minimal viable launch, we get more customers, we're growing, the team's growing. I get bored and I'm like, let's start a startup. I start to focus on that, and what happens with minimal viable launch? Things fall by the wayside. The cracks start to show. Because again, remember what I said at the start, the business will rise to the incompetence of the founder, essentially. And so I was trying to run multiple businesses when I didn't even really understand how to make one a wild success yet. So commit. Think of the worst case scenario that's going to happen if you went all in on your idea, if you went all in on your startup, and the worst happens, it fails. Are you really going to be homeless? Are you going to starve to death? Are you going to be ridiculed by your friends, your peers, your family? All of those insidious thoughts that each of us have as founders of what happens when we fail, play those scenarios out in your mind. Is that actually the worst case scenario? Is that actually a likely result? And if you can give yourself the resolve just to deeply commit, cut off other options in your business, I guarantee you will grow your business faster, because you're just going to double down on the thing that you already have traction with. The other thing, this is incredibly weird to me, the woman in the red dress. If any of you are Matrix fans, you'll know what I'm talking about here. And I often talk about this entrepreneurial magpie syndrome as well. You can kind of think of it in these two ways. This happens like clockwork, is what I've learned by watching these founders. I know that as soon as they have one of these breakthroughs where things are just starting to pick up steam and get going in their business, we have a woman in a red dress appear, or a shiny object that distracts their attention. This is like when you get traction and suddenly you go out to a networking event, someone hears about how successful you're being and they think, maybe I could work with them and they could make my idea successful. And so you're offered another business opportunity. This happens like clockwork. With every founder I worked with last year, I could see it coming a mile off. They start getting traction, and one of two things happens. It's either another business they want to launch, or a joint venture that they want to launch, or they have an idea at 3 o'clock in the morning that they just can't get out of their head, which is going to be the world's best piece of software. It's going to be really easy to scale. It's going to make them so much money, and it's going to be so much simpler than their current business. And what I want to say is, it's never simpler. You're an entrepreneur, right? You have an optimism bias. You think things are going to happen faster than they will. So how do we deal with the woman in the red dress or these shiny objects? Personally, what I have found is I have a note on my phone called Big Ideas, and I just write as much about that idea into that note as I possibly can. I detail that business out. I detail why it will work, why I'm excited about it. Then I have a rule. I close that note and I can take no action on that idea for 60 days. Then when I open that note file up and I look at those ideas, in the vast majority of times, I cannot believe what the hell I was thinking. I'm laughing at myself with how silly that idea is. Now it's kind of seen at a little bit of a distance and I'm not so enamored with it. So if you're starting to get traction in 2025, I want you to be on the lookout for the woman in the red dress. It's sent to distract you, right? It's almost like a test of your commitment to the business that you have. Is this what you need to be focused on? Is this really going to be easier than just doubling down on the thing you're already being successful at? Can you give yourself time to wait and sit on that idea and see if you're still in love with it in 2-3 months? I guarantee you, in most cases, you are not. So to recap, the mindset shifts for 2025 to help you grow at a faster rate. Being busy is a form of laziness. Focus on doing less, but what you do focus on, do it better. Take it to a higher level. Launch more in 2025. Have the mindset of get going, then get good, then get great, right? Improvements over time and with experience. Don't sit on ideas for ages, just get it out there. and recognize that you are a commitment phobe as a founder, right? You like new things, you like the shiny objects, you like keeping your options open, but it is going to be those founders who commit most to their ideas that see the highest growth in 2025, okay? So, you're working on the wrong things, guys. Like, I see this week in, week out, and it frustrates me to no end. We major in the minor things. We major in the things that really don't matter in the business at all. And there's a couple of ways this shows up. Long-term planning sucks is one thing I've realized with working with these 13 founders last year. Who here has just spent that weird week between Christmas and New Year doing serious long-term planning? You've got documents coming out your ears, you've created your vision, maybe you've done a spreadsheet, you've modeled everything out, you've picked some numbers out of thin air that feel a bit like a guess if we're being serious, but anyway, we're going to commit to them. Long-term planning really sucks. There's not a single startup I worked with that had high growth last year where we had detailed long-term plans for that business. Not a single one. And the reason this is that if you are a high growth business, if you are focused on solving the right things in your business, you change the ground truth, the reality on the ground that your business is experiencing really rapidly. So those long-term plans that you spent weeks and weeks for making and having management meetings and assessments on, they just become irrelevant. Most of that work is irrelevant because you need to correct the direction you're going in. You've learned something new. You've done something that completely changes the game. So less long-term planning, more of a mindset of being directionally correct. What does that mean? There is no map to how you are going to grow your business, right? There's nothing that we can plan out and in a sequence of steps say, this is on this day, this will happen, then this will happen, we'll get a deal here, we'll hire someone. It doesn't, it's too complex. Instead, we want to set an intention, right? A high level North Star. This year, I want to get more clients through content, and I'm going to do that through video, and that's going to be on YouTube. This year, I want to bolster this department and onboard someone who can take some of the sales work off of my hands. It's like that level of planning is great, and then we need short, intense bursts of work moving towards those objectives, moving towards that North Star vision that we can then course correct as and when things go wrong, or as and when you solve a problem that changes the reality on the ground for you meaningfully, okay? The mindset here, or the thing you must all do as startup founders is you have a core constraint in the business. There is a problem that is more impactful on your business than every other single thing you can think of, okay? If we imagine your business like a machine where attention is poured in the top, you create some remarkable, valuable result for a customer inside the gears of the machine, and you create some value there, and on the other side comes profit for you. If we look at that machine objectively, there is something in the workings of that machine currently in your business that is causing chaos, okay? It is spilling these packages all over the floor. Most of you are like totally ignoring that problem and working on absolutely anything else you can think of because it's more fun and exciting. That's not what we need to do. There is 3 ways to grow your business, and only 3 ways to grow your business. There is get more customers. So add more attention into the top of the machine. There is earn more from those customers, so up the lifetime gross profit per customer. That is sell them more, that is keep them customers longer, charge more, those kind of initiatives. That will grow the business. And then the 3rd way is reducing the risk. That looks like people, process that you're adding into your business to make it more anti-fragile, to stop these major problems going wrong so that you can focus your time on finding and fixing the next issue, okay? If this year you commit to regularly finding the core constraint of your business, the thing that's actually preventing it growing right now, you map all of those problems out, right? The way you do this is you list all of those problems. You know them as a founder. You feel them every single day. You start writing a list. These problems will pour out of you. There's going to be hundreds of them. You map those problems and you say, if I solve this, would it get us more customers? Would it earn us more money by upping the lifetime gross profit? Or would it reduce the risk by adding people and processes and systems into the business that reduce that risk? And then once you've mapped those, probably about 80% of them do not map to one of those outcomes. You ignore them. Of those that do map to those outcomes, you identify the one that if you solved would make all other problems irrelevant. And I'll tell you a little story of a question I get all of the time that drives me nuts because it is a illustration of this problem. People who are growing their business always ask me at some point, should we be using Stripe because their fees are really high? And I go, okay, are you going to spend the next 2 weeks researching the different payment providers out there, getting that reinstalled into your product so that you can have 1 to 2% more profit per customer in your business? Is that a real good use of your founder, that limited focus you've got? Is that a good use of that time? Or could we ask ourselves a better question of how can I get 1,000 more customers per month paying me and staying our customers for 1 to 2 years? Because that would make that Stripe fee question absolutely irrelevant. If I could say, yeah, you've got £1 million monthly recurring revenue, do you really care about the 1 to 2%? Would you all make that trade from where you are right now? Yes, you would. So find the core constraint and focus your energy on fixing that. And again, it comes back to these traction sprints. The way you do this is you have the hypothesis. What is the core constraint of your business? How many of you ever give yourself time to think about what the actual problems in your business are? People always laugh at me when they ask me, like, what does your day look like, Lee? Like, half the time I'm just like lounging around thinking, writing, right? I'm not doing anything. I'm talking to myself on a walk in a park. I don't know. Because I'm thinking through, what do I need to actually do? And then I apply mass focus on that, and I might have an intense sprint where, I pull some all-nighters to get something launched. But it does something in the business, meaningful, and I have to spend the time to think about that first. So you have the hypothesis. Give yourself permission to think. You're going to experience those hurdles. When you try to solve the problem, your solution isn't going to fix it at first. It's going to encounter issues that you're going to have to diagnose, you're going to have to course correct, and then you grow. This is the game. The founders I worked with last year who stuck to their guns in just solving that core constraint of the business, they grew crazy. Like some of them over doubled the size of their business last year because they just solved problem after problem after problem after problem. The bigger issue for them is it gets really boring, quite frankly, because it's not the fun, exciting things that you really want to do. This is the trap. Opportunity versus problems. What are you working on? Are you working on an opportunity or are you working on solving a real problem? An opportunity is interesting to a business founder, an entrepreneurial founder, because it has in your mind unlimited upside. You are someone who likes building and launching new things. Otherwise, you would not have launched a business. Like, launching a business is insane, quite frankly. You have to enjoy this, and that's why you will gravitate to opportunity as a founder, rather than the problems, which is the machine is spilling those packages all over the floor. If we just fix the conveyor belt, we'd have more packages going through to the other side and getting delivered. Great. We have to move away from opportunities. And I had a mentor a few years ago who used to have a great saying, which is like, people are too busy shoulding all over themselves to get anything really done in their business. I should do this. We should do that. And it looks like, oh, we should launch an AI-powered auto blogging system to up our SEO. and get loads of traffic from Google. Maybe you should do that. I don't know. But you do have a customer retention problem that if you solve would add 60, 70, 80,000 pounds to your profit and loss at the end of the year. That's probably a more impactful problem to solve, okay? So I want you to question yourselves this year. When you're working on things, are you working to solve the core constraint of your business right now? Is it the thing that if you actually solved it, it would more meaningfully improve your business and your position within the market than anything else? And are you working on solving a problem, or are you playing around with an opportunity that sounds like a good idea, that you feel like you should be doing, but really you're probably not going to complete the project? It's not going to get you any results. You're going to waste that limited focus, and in doing so, not get the results that you want there, okay? So, with all of that said, what are these tactical uplifts in the business? I'm going to try and do something that we've never done before at Minimal Viable launching one of these. This might go horribly, horribly wrong, but let's see if we can do this. Hopefully you can all see Excalibur. Now I'm going to draw out some of these things for you. Surprisingly for me, probably the number one thing that grew the businesses that we worked with last year the most was something that's so gobsmackingly obvious and simple that I think we overlook it, even though we all know this will grow your business, okay? We just need a list. We need a list of people that we can ask things to. We need a series of customers, potential contacts, partners, or maybe people who run like podcasts or events, okay? Those founders that we worked with that had the biggest lists built out in their business, right? They had identified more potential customers than anyone else. They'd identified more events they could speak at, podcasts that they could ask to be on, partnerships that they feel like they could form. They just grew more because they did something really simple, is in that they made more asks, okay? They went down this list every single day and they took 1, 2, 3 people off that list and they asked for something. They asked for a call, they asked for a meeting, they asked to appear on the podcast or speak at that event. They dared to get out of their comfort zone and they stopped being the kind of founder, and I've been guilty of this, where it's like, we're so good, everyone should find us and come to me and then my business will grow. It's like, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. The world's too busy and you're probably not as good as you think you are. So you're going to have to go out there and make it happen. The most valuable thing you have in your business right now is this list. And some of you, that when I've looked into the kind of systems you got, you don't have a CRM and you don't have a list can just be an Excel spreadsheet. Mine is an Excel spreadsheet, right? We don't pay for a CRM. It's just a list of names. And when I look at it, it's like, oh, I've got 6 people on that list. Okay, well, we are not growing the business very much with 6 people on the list. It makes doing sales repeatedly almost impossible. When I was a recruitment consultant, if I had said to my boss, I don't have a sales list for the day, I think he would have fired me on the spot at that point, right? It's that important. The list is everything. If you don't know who you're going to be making asks to in 2025 for a demo call, a proposal to be sent out, an event to speak at, etc., if you don't know who that is, nothing's going to happen. No one is coming to you. So you have to go out and find them, make the asks. And if you just make more asks in 2025 than you did in 2024, you will have more growth. But every single founder on the 90-day traction program that grew faster than the rest, they just had bigger lists, okay? And I know some of you on this call today, like we've been marveling at the fact that you've put a list together of 200, 300, 400 people. You're making asks on it and you're closing customers left, right, and center just because you dared to ask when others don't, okay? This one I absolutely love, this little playbook here. It's the expertise required playbook. Okay, so you, as your happy little self, you go out and you just ask people to jump on a call with you so that you can ask them their opinions about the thing that you do, right? The problem you solve. So Paul, you're on this call. He's been doing this to great effect. Recently, he's targeting CEOs of larger businesses for his product, okay? Really hard to get a call with a CEO, put in the book. Really hard to get someone at that level of seniority, especially if they've got a company that is busy and successful. But what do they want, right? The expertise required playbook is a way of stop being really selfish for asking for a sales call so you can sell things to people. It's a way of you asking them to share their expertise to create a report or content around. So this could be you have a podcast and you invite them to it. It could be you are doing a report where you're going to deep dive into the industry and you're going to ask them their opinions on the hot topics in the industry. You're going to put their face on that. You're going to publish it. You're going to get them attention, right? Because what does everyone want? They want their opinions to be valid and useful. And so when you change your sales playbook from sales calls to research calls, fundamentally they're the same thing. What we're seeing in these calls is as you talk to them about their problems with the thing that you solve, they basically outline all of their needs for your product. At the end of the research call, you can kind of do a bit of a switcheroo and say, hey, actually, from what you've said, we have a product that actually helps with it. Like, do you want to hear about that? Most of the time, people are like, yeah, absolutely. I'm really interested in solving this problem. And we're seeing people get a high rate of booking from the outreach they're doing. They're talking with people that they could only dream of meeting with. And then they are closing them as customers in a way that these the people who are giving you the expertise are really, really happy about. They absolutely love it. So in 2025, I encourage you all to think about how you can combine sales with getting people's opinion in a way that gives them, exposure of their thought leadership into the market, because that's what they want. You want FaceTime with them. It's a win-win. It is high conversion. It has a high success rate. And if you combine this with a big old list, you will grow like wildfire in 2025, okay? Doing the unscalable. This one I have really enjoyed seeing some people do. So most people in software, we want to do anything but have FaceTime with customers or running events or doing anything that we can't add code and content behind to scale and serve everyone around the world whilst we sleep, right? It's diametrically opposed to probably why you are interested in running a software business in the first place. But we've seen with the founders who have generated a ton of opportunity in 2024, they're willing to do unscalable things. They're willing to spend an awful lot of FaceTime with their customers in order to build know, like, trust factor. And one of the founders, Craig Thompson from the Vibrant Workplace Accelerator, he had an idea. He's like, I want to run this event where I'm going to fly my customers in. We're going to have them on stage. I'm going to interview them about their experience of getting the certification that we've got them. I'm going to invite all of my prospects to this meeting. I'm going to put lunch on for them. I'm going to get a film crew in. I'm going to do all of this. And I looked at it, I was like, Craig, this is going to be unscalable. I'm not sure this is a good idea. And he proved me wrong. And he really shifted my mindset with this, because he had over 60 people attend that event. He's got content for days produced about it. He didn't sell his product. His customers sold his product to that audience. And this thing is now snowballing, right? He's run his first event. People loved it so much they want a second event, so he's doing another one at the end of January. He's now got even more people who are now paying for tickets. He's got sponsorship deals coming in through network partners in his local area who want to get access to his audience. And this thing is just going to grow and grow and grow. Do things for free for your customers that they want. Create the social object, the thing that they want to gather around in order to draw attention onto the idea, the philosophy that your software has, the problem that you solve. You will sell an awful lot of customers through this. The other thing here, lumpy mail. Okay, I'm going to try and draw a really bad piece of mail here. Lumpy mail. What do I mean by this? This is getting something physical in the post to your prospects and indeed your customers that you have just converted. We absolutely love sending things out here at Minimal Viable Launch. So Sophie, who is quickly becoming our head of customer success, because she's really good at this. She thinks of great gifts to send people. We want to get something in the post to people when they buy or when we want to work with them, because most people right now are entirely digital in their positioning in their business, right? The physical seems old, and no one likes the stuff that the spam mail that comes through the post, right? So we've rejected it. It's all about content. It's podcasts. It's YouTube videos. But I've seen wild things. We post books out to anyone I ever speak to, and it has a handwritten note in there. Okay, many of you on this call probably have received one of these books. I get people who get those books that I never hear from again, and I think, oh, that's weird. They didn't even say thank you for the book, right? Maybe we'll never work with them. And then they come back 8 months later. They're like, oh, your book's been sat on my desk. I've been thinking about this the whole time. Let's work together. I'm ready for it now. And I'm like, oh man, this is the power of lumpy mail, right? And it's just the thing that's big enough that it doesn't easily get thrown away. So, or personal enough that it doesn't easily get thrown away, right? We want to avoid kind of being chucked in the bin, right? We don't want this. What we want is something that is valuable or personal enough that it sits there on the desk. I've had some conversations with people recently about creating some kind of meme objects for their business that is something to do with their philosophy and the product that they do, sending that out to key prospects. Many of the founders I've worked with last year were doing handwritten notes to potential prospects they really worked with, a letter, right? It's highly personal. It takes effort and time. People absolutely love it and get a high response rate from it. It is not scalable, right? You're not going to do this for millions of people around the world, and that's why most founders will reject it. But most founders don't have millions of customers, and this stuff is highly effective. It will win you business, and it cuts through the noise because most people aren't there. Most people aren't willing to do this, okay? And the last thing we're really doubling down on is these email nurture systems in the business, right? Where all we want to do with all of our marketing is just get an email address, because once we have the email address, they go into our nurture system. The nurture system just sends them some small piece of relevant and valuable content weekly, and we split this list up, right? This list is getting multiple pieces of content sent to it every single week, but we don't spam people because the list is sorted into categories of where they're at in the buying journey. And what we're doing is we're just creating a system where people experience the content, they sit in the nurture system, we send them more content, they get to know, like, and trust us. We build up the law of reciprocity where they feel like they want to give something back to us. And eventually we put out a piece of content that just says either a 9-word sales letter or an invite to an event, okay? Event or 9-word sales letter. And we pull them out of that nurture system into being a client. And I realized to do this with people when I was listening to a talk by the guys that run the Dent Accelerator, so Daniel Priestley's business accelerator, and they said that people, they're really good marketers, right? They're a very advanced organization. And they said that people sit on their email address, on their email list, their nurture system, for an average of 9 months before they become a customer. So if you currently have a very transactional model in your business where either someone becomes a customer when they're on your website, or they're on a call with you, or they don't and then you forget about them, I think you're missing a huge growth lever in your business. Because what you should be doing is this, we talked just before Christmas in this group about, are you a farmer or a hunter? The farmer is like nurturing relationships. Like you can imagine this field of customers, you're going around, you're nurturing them, you're giving them nutrients, you're watering them a little bit. This is the content, right? And eventually they're ready to work with you. The hunter is always in this mindset of like, where's the next customer? Where's the next customer? And it's either it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, let's not speak again. Most of you are operating in that hunter mindset. And if in 2025 you just became a farmer, you nurture relationships, you win in their trust enough that they'll give you their email address, and then you build valuable relationships with them, you will get to sell to them 9 months, 12 months, years down the line.